Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of the Gamut Network. I am so excited because we are talking to Australia and my new friend who I have so much to say about what this man is doing, but his name is Matthew Skerritt. He's joining in all the way from Australia, and he has started something that is revolutionary, and I am so excited to share it with you all. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mindy. Appreciate it.
So excited. Look at that gorgeous outdoor garden or indoor garden that you have behind you. But I don't think we have anything like that here. I think, as I said to him, I'm going to move to Australia.
Welcome to Australia.
So, Matthew, I would love to enlighten everybody on a little bit of your personal story in terms of before you created the revolution of every human, which we'll get into detail in a second. But I want to know what led you up to that.
Yeah, so about a year and a half ago, I was working at in financial services, working for PricewaterhouseCoopers in their audit division. And then I moved into the family business, which is they own and operate aged care facilities. And it was here where I came across the concept of adaptive clothing. And to be honest, I'd actually never heard of adaptive clothing, of what it was, but the concept made sense, clothing that was functional to assist people in getting dressed. And so I thought it was a really great concept. And I started looking into it from an aged care perspective initially, thinking, elderly people could really benefit from it. And then I started doing more research and started actually speaking to parents of kids with disabilities and people with disabilities themselves, and asking them, have you heard of adaptive clothing? And they said no, but dressing's a real challenge. And that's when I really decided to pivot on an aged care focus and focus on creating a marketplace for adaptive clothing for people with disabilities.
And what I love so much, and this is something we were talking about before we started recording, is I asked you if you had any personal connection to somebody with a disability, a friend, a family member, and the answer was no. And to me, this is exactly where we want the world to get to, that you don't have to have a personal connection to realize that the enormity of the population of people with disabilities, the spending power, and the fact that they're an untapped market. And it sounds like from your financial background, you realized all of this. And then the best part about it is that it's just the right thing to do. Everybody should be able to wear clothing that is easier to dress and makes you feel confident. And you really opened up a market that wasn't there in Australia and New Zealand, correct?
Yeah, there was a few smaller players doing very small internal lines, but there was nothing really, there was no presence of adaptive clothing here in Australia. But yeah, that's right. I don't have a family member with a disability, which quite often you hear people doing something in the adaptive space, they've got that direct connection. But for me, speaking to the parents and hearing this emotional plea for something to be here in Australia, that's something that I really connected with, and you could just hear the passion for people wanting something like this. And it was really, to be able to now offer that is really special. And the smiles and the stories and the people writing into us saying, this is amazing, it's life-changing. Really cool space to be in, and it's so rewarding.
And I love that you use that word cool, because that's really a part of certainly what I'm trying to do with the Gamut Network and Gamut is rebranding the way people with disabilities are viewed. And it is really cool. And they are spectacular people that have all different stories and backgrounds, and most importantly, they're just people. And so to be able to provide them with clothing and footwear that ultimately is a direct correlation to their confidence is beyond cool. And coming from the fashion industry, it makes what we do even that much more important, in that we are really changing the lives of people while they live it. And I just love so much, I know I'm reiterating this, that you realize that on your own, having no personal connection. And that's really the point, that you don't have to have a personal connection to realize the importance of inclusion and the fact that this is white space and an opportunity. So tell us a little bit about the platform itself. It's called Every Human, everyhuman.com. Please go check out the website. Now, if you're watching this anywhere outside of Australia and New Zealand, you can't get the product yet from Every Human, but it is on its way, right? We're getting there, that it will be global. But like many guests that I've had on, and or what I'm trying to do is, the more support we give platforms and companies like Every Human, the bigger and this will get, and the more important people will realize people with disabilities are. So tell us a little bit about the platform itself, what your big plans are.
Yeah, so I mean, Every Human is an online marketplace, really bringing the best of adaptive clothing brands, clothing and footwear actually, and bring it all into the one spot. So it's the one-stop shop for everything adaptive. At the moment in Australia and New Zealand, but hopefully we'll have a global presence and be able to offer it to people around the world. But yeah, we've got, whether it be Billy Footwear or Magna Ready or is adaptive and clothing for people in the seated position. We're bringing everything together. Historically, these companies didn't have a presence in Australia, and so we've been sort of bringing it to Australia for the first time, which is really exciting.
What would you say, especially because you're relatively new, so to speak, to understanding this population? I'm sure you're learning something every single day, as I still am, and I live it every single day. What would you say is the biggest thing that you learned, number one, and number two, what has been your greatest challenge?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we're learning is that people want to wear something that is normalized. They don't want to wear, historically adaptive clothing has been medical, hasn't been very, fashion forward. And people, whenever they write in or they call, they say, we want something that looks normal. We want something that will fit in with, any other mainstream product. And I think that's really important for anyone, in the adaptive space to listen to, because that's the crux of why adaptive clothing is becoming such a big thing, is because it's actually starting to be normalized. And so I think that's some key takeaways. For me, the biggest challenge is to be able to offer functionalities for all different types of disabilities. Hopefully we'll get to that stage, but whether at the moment we don't have sensory friendly clothing, but that's something, people have written into us and said, we'd love to have something that's sensory friendly. So that's been a challenge. Another challenge is probably actually we'd love to see more representation. So more people, more models. Finding models hasn't been difficult, but there should be more people being proud of who they are and be willing to get in front of the camera because they're beautiful, because they're good looking. And so for us, we'd love to see some more local Australia, New Zealand models, people with disabilities, getting in front of the camera and strutting their stuff.
Well, we can definitely help you with that.
I know.
We got it. So we're ready when you are. Thankfully, we are global. Many people that would love nothing more than to be a part of Every Human. So we'll sidebar on that. And I think that also what's so wonderful about what Every Human is doing by creating a marketplace, as you said, for this, is it hopefully will let brands and other designers think about, if there's a place to sell this, then why wouldn't they have adaptive products or versions? I mean, my ultimate goal is hopefully someday they'll, first of all, be just a category in the industry for adaptive, no different than plus size or petite, based on the fact that the population of people with disabilities is the largest minority on the planet. It's almost absurd that we don't have that category. But also, maybe there is a mandate that a certain percentage of clothing has to be adapted for every mainstream brand. But I think, one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on the show is that it's important for the industry also to know that places like Every Human exist. So that is just another platform for them to sell directly to people that need it, that want this product desperately. And very similar to other interviews that I've had, we have the opportunity. Now we need the industry to come and join us on this, and it's happening. I feel very strongly that every year we're going to see more and more brands, and I'm sure you have also in the year and a half that you have been in business, that you've seen an expansion of products.
Yeah. I mean, even in the past 6 months, we've had, probably 3, maybe 4 local Australian adaptive brands pop up. And, the more people that are in the space, the better. The more attention that it gets, the more choice there is for people. And yeah, it would be really awesome to see an adaptive arm of any mainstream brand.
Yes.
Whether it be, and Tommy Hilfiger's done a great job of that. Nike's done a great job of that. But yeah, I think that's where the space should be going.
I couldn't agree more. And now, I think you have actually just launched 7 jeans on the site. Danny was a guest on the show as well. We're super proud of him and everything that he's done. But I think that's a great example of, a high fashion denim company is believing that this population is important. It's a new category for them, and they're investing in it. But again, that's a perfect example of the fact that you are providing a platform that brands like 7 can take advantage of for their adaptive.
Yeah. And I think, there's an education piece, and I think potentially brands think, they've got to drastically change their designs, when in fact they actually really don't.
They really don't.
There's minor changes to their previous historic designs, and I think that education process and will also give people more confidence to launch an adaptive line as well. And hopefully that's where you can come in, and hopefully we can come in and sort of guide people along the way as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we really have to do this all together, or else it's not going to happen. So that's why I was, again, so happy to have you on the show. But before we go, I'd like to ask all of my guests one final question, and that's about the power of a vision board, where you put your hopes and dreams and wishes, or who you want to meet, or what you want to get involved in during the course of your life. If we got to look at Matthew's vision board, what would we see?
Yeah, well, probably if you asked me a couple of years ago, get married, I'm with, the girl of my dreams. So I've ticked that box off now. So
good, done.
Yeah, so that was a couple of years ago. In terms of an adaptive point of view, I'd love to try and, make Every Human global and offer choice to people, not just in Australia, but around the world. And I'd love to, building on that adaptive perspective, be involved with, something like what you've done with New York Fashion Week, and really do something really mainstream with the adaptive space. I kind of dream about it from time to time, thinking, there's all these amazing things you could do with, a fashion show, and
absolutely,
that would be really special to me and really cool, and something that hopefully we can work towards and get more people with disabilities on the runway as well.
Agreed. All right. So if you need me to come to Australia to help you,
I think we need to have a conversation.
I'll be on the next, as soon as we can travel, I'll be there. But I think that would be really amazing. And it is absolutely spectacular how far you've come in a very short amount of time. So I think we have to honor that and give you tremendous kudos, especially because you just realized as a human on this planet, pun intended, as a human on this planet, that everybody matters and everybody should have product that makes their life easier and makes them feel good. And that's exactly what every human does. So Matthew, thank you so much for joining us. Again, it's everyhuman.com. Please take a look. If you happen to live in Australia or New Zealand, order away. But if not, he's going to make it global and make it happen. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Mindy. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
If you would like to be on the Gamut Network, please email us at talent@gamutmanagement.com to tell us why you'd be a great guest. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Gamut Network, as well as follow us on our social platforms, Gamut Management. Thank you again, Matthew.
Thanks, Mindy.
Bye.
Bye.